America's unyielding valor, the triumph at Midway, and the path to victory in World War II. In the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean, where the sun-kissed waves met the horizon in an endless embrace, a storm of steel and fire was brewing. It was June 1942, mere months after the treacherous attack on Pearl Harbor had awakened a sleeping giant. America, the land of the free and the brave, stood at a crossroads. The forces of tyranny threatened to engulf the world in darkness, but from the ashes of adversity rose a nation forged in the fires of liberty. This is the story of America's indomitable spirit at the Battle of Midway, a pivotal clash that turned the tide of World War II and showcased the ingenuity, courage, and resolve that defined the United States. Through the valor of our heroes, the wisdom of our leaders, and the unbreakable will of our people, we not only secured victory, but also shaped a brighter future for humanity. Join me as we honor the greatest generation and celebrate the enduring legacy of American exceptionalism. The seeds of this epic confrontation were sown on December 7, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. Japanese forces launched a surprise assault on Pearl Harbor, crippling much of the U.S. Pacific Fleet and claiming over 2,400 American lives. But in that moment of tragedy, something profound stirred within the American soul. President Franklin D. Roosevelt, our steadfast leader, addressed a joint session of Congress the very next day, rallying the nation with words that echoed the unyielding resolve of our forefathers. Let us hear his full declaration, a clarion call that united us in purpose. Mr. Vice President, Mr. Speaker, members of the Senate and of the House of Representatives. Yesterday, December 7, 1941, a date which will live in infamy, the United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. The United States was at peace with that nation, and at the solicitation of Japan was still in conversation with its government and its emperor looking toward the maintenance of peace in the Pacific. Indeed, 1 hour after Japanese air squadrons had commenced bombing in the American island of Oahu, the Japanese ambassador to the United States and his colleague delivered to our Secretary of State a formal reply to a recent American message. And while this reply stated that it seemed useless to continue the existing diplomatic negotiations, it contained no threat or hint of war or of armed attack. It will be recorded that the distance of Hawaii from Japan makes it obvious that the attack was deliberately planned many days or even weeks ago. During the intervening time, the Japanese government has deliberately sought to deceive the United States by false statements and expressions of hope for continued peace. The attack yesterday on the Hawaiian Islands has caused severe damage to American naval and military forces. I regret to tell you that very many American lives have been lost. In addition, American ships have been reported torpedoed on the high seas between San Francisco and Honolulu. Yesterday, the Japanese government also launched an attack against Malaya. Last night, Japanese forces attacked Hong Kong. Last night, Japanese forces attacked Guam. Last night, Japanese forces attacked the Philippine Islands. Last night, the Japanese attacked Wake Island, and this morning the Japanese attacked Midway Island. Japan has therefore undertaken a surprise offensive extending throughout the Pacific area. The facts of yesterday and today speak for themselves. The people of the United States have already formed their opinions and well understand the implications to the very life and safety of our nation. As Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy, I have directed that all measures be taken for our defense. But always will our whole nation remember the character of the onslaught against us. No matter how long it may take us to overcome this premeditated invasion, the American people in their righteous might will win through to absolute victory. I believe that I interpret the will of the Congress and of the people when I assert that we will not only defend ourselves to the uttermost, but will make it very certain that this form of treachery shall never again endanger us. Hostilities exist. There is no blinking at the fact that our people, our territory, and our interests are in grave danger. With confidence in our armed forces, with the unbounding determination of our people, we will gain the inevitable triumph, so help us God. I ask that the Congress declare that since the unprovoked and dastardly attack by Japan on Sunday, December 7, 1941, a state of war has existed between the United States and the Japanese Empire. These words ignited a fire in every American heart. Factories hummed with renewed vigor, farms produced bounties to sustain our troops, and millions of young men and women stepped forward to serve. The United States, once isolationist, transformed into the arsenal of democracy, producing an astonishing array of ships, planes, and weapons that would overwhelm the Axis powers. This was the American way, innovation driven by freedom, where ordinary citizens became extraordinary heroes. Let us delve deeper into the strategic brilliance that defined America's response. The Battle of Midway was not just a clash of fleets, it was a masterclass in intelligence and adaptability. Japanese Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto sought to lure the remnants of the US Pacific Fleet into a trap, aiming to capture Midway Atoll and extend Japan's defensive perimeter. But American codebreakers at Station Hypo in Hawaii cracked the Japanese JN-25 naval code, revealing Yamamoto's plans. Under the command of Admiral Chester Nimitz, a Texan-born leader whose calm demeanor belied his strategic genius, the US Navy positioned its carriers Yorktown, Enterprise, and Hornet out of harm's way, ready to strike. Nimitz's strategy was a blend of foresight and audacity. He understood that aircraft carriers were the new queens of the sea, eclipsing the battleships of old. By leveraging superior intelligence, the US forces turned the tables on a numerically superior enemy. Dive bombers from the Enterprise and Yorktown caught the Japanese carriers Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, and Hiryu with their decks laden with fueled planes, turning them into infernos. In a single day, June 4, 1942, Japan lost 4 irreplaceable carriers, while America suffered the loss of only 1. This was no mere luck. It was the triumph of American ingenuity, where cryptologists like Joseph Rochefort worked tirelessly to decode messages, giving our sailors the edge they needed. But strategy alone does not win wars. It is the men and women behind it who embody the true spirit of America. Let us honor the personal stories of soldiers who exemplified this valor. Take Lieutenant Richard Dick Best, a dive bomber pilot from New Jersey. On that fateful day at Midway, Best led his squadron from the Enterprise. With nerves of steel, he dove his dauntless bomber through a hail of anti-aircraft fire, scoring direct hits on the Akagi and Hiryu. His action single-handedly crippled 2 carriers, turning the battle in our favor. Best's precision and bravery saved countless lives and shifted the momentum of the Pacific. He later reflected, "I was just doing my job for my country," a humble testament to the American ethos of duty and sacrifice. Another hero whose story inspires pride is Corporal Herschel Woody Williams, a Marine from West Virginia. Though his most famous actions came later at Iwo Jima, his journey began in the wake of Midway, embodying the relentless American advance. At Iwo Jima in 1945, Williams charged enemy pillboxes with a flamethrower, eliminating 7 fortifications in 4 hours despite being wounded. For this, he earned the Medal of Honor, America's highest military award. Williams's tale is one of grit and determination. Growing up on a dairy farm, he enlisted to protect the freedoms he cherished. "We were fighting for our way of life," he said, reminding us that every American soldier carried the weight of our nation's ideals on their shoulders. And let us not forget Sergeant Walter D. Ehlers, a Kansas farm boy who stormed the beaches of Normandy on D-Day, June 6, 1944, a battle that built on Midway's success and opened the Second Front in Europe. Ehlers led his squad through hedgerows in France, single-handedly taking out 2 machine gun nests and a mortar position, saving his men. For his heroism, he too received the Medal of Honor. Ehlers' story highlights the personal toll. His brother Roland was killed on Omaha Beach, yet Walter pressed on, driven by love for country and comrades. These men weren't superhumans. They were everyday Americans who rose to extraordinary heights, proving that our nation's strength lies in its people. As we analyze the broader strategic landscape, America's role in World War II reveals a depth of planning that secured global freedom. Following Midway, the US adopted an island-hopping strategy under General Douglas MacArthur and Admiral Nimitz. This involved bypassing heavily fortified Japanese islands and seizing those of strategic value, cutting off enemy supply lines. Battles like Guadalcanal, Tarawa, and Leyte Gulf showcased this approach. At Leyte Gulf in October 1944, the largest naval battle in history, American forces under Admiral William Bull Halsey decimated the Japanese fleet, sinking 4 carriers, 3 battleships, and numerous cruisers. This victory, rooted in superior tactics and industrial might, allowed the US to liberate the Philippines and move ever closer to Japan. In Europe, the strategic depth was equally impressive. Operation Overlord, the D-Day invasion, was meticulously planned by General Dwight D. Eisenhower, our supreme Allied commander. Eisenhower's leadership unified American, British, and Canadian forces, landing 156,000 troops on Normandy's beaches despite fierce German resistance. The subsequent Battle of the Bulge in December 1944 tested our resolve, but under General George S. Patton's rapid maneuvers, American troops held the line, inflicting heavy casualties on the Germans. Patton's Third Army advanced 100 miles in 2 days to relieve Bastogne, exemplifying American mobility and logistical prowess. These strategies weren't just military. They were extensions of American values. Democracy fostering innovation, where leaders like Eisenhower emphasized teamwork and adaptability. The war's end brought not just victory, but a profound political transformation. On August 6 and 9, 1945, the US dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, compelling Japan's surrender on September 2 aboard the USS Missouri. This act, while somber, saved millions of lives by averting a bloody invasion. In the post-war era, America emerged as a superpower, shaping a new world order. The United States led the formation of the United Nations in 1945, promoting peace and human rights. Through the Marshall Plan, we invested $13 billion to rebuild Europe, preventing communism's spread and fostering democratic allies. This generosity turned former enemies like Germany and Japan into prosperous partners, demonstrating American leadership's moral high ground. Yet, the post-war context was marked by the Cold War's dawn. The Soviet Union, our wartime ally, imposed iron-fisted control over Eastern Europe, drawing Winston Churchill's famous Iron Curtain in 1946. In response, President Harry S. Truman articulated the Truman Doctrine in 1947, pledging U.S. support for nations resisting communism. This led to NATO's creation in 1949, a defensive alliance that safeguarded Western democracy. America's role was pivotal. Our economic might and military strength contained Soviet expansion, from the Berlin airlift in 1948-49, where U.S. planes delivered 2.3 million tons of supplies, to the Korean War, where we defended freedom's frontiers. The legacy of World War II for the United States is one of unparalleled triumph and transformation. From a nation reeling from the Great Depression, we became the world's beacon of hope, our economy booming with wartime production that created the largest middle class in history. The GI Bill educated millions of veterans, fueling innovation in science, technology, and industry. Socially, the war accelerated civil rights. African-American heroes like the Tuskegee Airmen shattered barriers, paving the way for desegregation and equality. Women entered the workforce en masse, embodying Rosie the Riveter's spirit and advancing gender roles. Politically, WW2 solidified America's global leadership. We transitioned from isolationism to engagement, committing to a rules-based international order that has prevented another world war. Our sacrifices, over 400,000 lives lost, ensured liberty's endurance. Today, as we face new challenges, let us draw inspiration from this legacy. The United States remains the arsenal of democracy, our military the finest in the world, our people the most resilient. In honoring the greatest generation, we reaffirm our pride in what America achieved, not just victory over tyranny, but the dawn of a freer, more prosperous era. As the sun sets on this chapter of history, remember, America's story is one of overcoming adversity through unity, innovation, and unyielding patriotism. We are the land where dreams become destiny, and our WW2 triumph proves that when freedom calls, Americans answer with thunderous resolve. God bless our heroes, and God bless the United States of America.